The first Roman civil war, when Rome was divided into two sides, when blood ran through its streets, when the legionnaires killed each other in a relentless war? Today here we will know its history. I thought it appropriate First Roman Civil War. What if I suddenly mentioned Sertorius leading legionaries and Celtiberians against other legionaries? We're going to go back to the year 88 before Christ. There's a great tension between the Optimates and the Populares, but I'm not going to get into details. Just know that they had a hatred for each other that was unbearable. If you're more interested in the topic of disputes within the Republic, let me know in the comments so I can make videos about it. Oh, and subscribe so you don't miss any chapter of our story. Well, the Optimates were led by Sulla, while the Populares were led by Gaius. Marius, the tribune of the plebs that year, was favorable to Marius, so he enacted a law that, as a last resort, would allow Marius to lead the war against Mithridates, the king of the Pontic kingdom, something that would bring him glory and honors. But the consuls of that year, Sulla and Rufus, both Optimates, had their way and prevented new laws from being enacted. So Marius could not lead the war against Pontus. Things only got worse on the streets of Rome. People were pulling out daggers and killing each other, with violence and beatings occurring. The riots and confrontations spread throughout the city. In fact, Rufus' son died in one of the confrontations. By life's coincidences, Sulla was fleeing from the mob that wanted to kill him when he received help from Marius to hide and survive. This indicates that there was still a possibility to avoid a civil war. Finally, the consuls backed down and allowed laws to be enacted so Marius could face Mithridates. But Sulla had other ideas. He fled to the south, and there he convinced 6 legions to join him and name him their leader. After this, Sulla marched against Rome. This marked a before and after in the history of the Republic, as until then, no general had dared to march against the Eternal City. Marius, caught by surprise, was forced to flee to Africa. Sulla took control of the city and published a list of public enemies. If your name was on that list, it meant that anyone could kill you with total impunity. Everything seemed under control for Sulla until the following year, when the elected consuls were Cinna and Octavius. Cinna was popular, while Octavius was an Optimate. Sulla made them swear that they would not cause trouble, and then he marched to Greece with his army to confront Mithridates. But the supporters of Cinna and Octavius had other ideas, as they clashed with knives in the streets, with 10,000 populars dying. Cinna fled, and was replaced by Lucius Merula by order of the Senate. Cinna managed to gain the support of some legions in southern Italy. At the same time, Marius returned from Africa with reinforcements and both marched against Rome. Rome fell easily, which allowed Marius to eliminate all the enemies he had in the city. He began a purge that brutally weakened the Senate, and once again the streets were stained with blood, but this time with the blood of the Optimates. In the year 86 before Christ, Marius and Cinna were elected consuls. Although in reality the Senate had no other choice, as it was that or be executed. Unfortunately for the Populares, Marius died 18 days later at the age of 70. Now we enter what is known as the Cinna government, as he remained as consul for 3 consecutive years, legislating favorably for the Populares. The consul had 2 main objectives. The first was to end Sulla and the Optimates, so that the Populares could govern without rivals. Secondly, he needed to end Mithridates, as he was taking advantage of the civil war to seize Roman territory. Cinna sent 2 armies to solve these problems. The first, of 12,000 men and under the command of Valerius Flaccus, was sent to defeat Sulla, while a second army, whose numbers are unknown, was sent under the command of Flavius Fimbria to defeat Mithridates. When Sulla learned that 2 armies had been sent to Greece, he decided to end the war with Mithridates to focus on the civil war. He agreed that Pontus would be an independent kingdom. In exchange for helping him in the war against the Populares, Flaccus landed with his army in Greece, but almost immediately his men switched to Sulla's side, abandoning their general. Next, Sulla set off to where he was located, Fimbria's army also switched to Sulla's side, so Fimbria decided to commit suicide. Having failed to win over his men, Cinna, meanwhile, had tried to end the revolts by enacting laws halfway between Optimates and Populares. In 84 before Christ, he was elected consul alongside Neo Papilo Carbon, and both carried out a forced recruitment to have an army to confront Sulla before he invaded Italy. The army was formed, but it mutinied as they were tired of the civil war and refused to continue killing other Romans. Cinna, who was in Brindisi, went to Ancona, where the army was, to try to calm the legionnaires, but they killed him. Carbo became the sole ruler of Rome. At this moment, the mob began to lose faith in the Populares. The Optimates started gaining the people's favor with promises of peace and prosperity. In the year 83 before Christ, one of the elected consuls was Gaius Norbanus Balbus. The size of his forces is not known, but it is known that he faced Sulla, who had about 40,000 troops and who had landed in Brundisium. They faced each other in Campania. At the Battle of Mount Tifata, Balbus was defeated and Sulla continued his advance to the north. In the year 82 before Christ, Gaius Marius, the son of Gaius Marius, was elected consul and, commanding 45,000 men, set out to stop Sulla. The Battle of Sacriportus took place, in which the Populares launched a surprise attack on the Optimates, who regrouped and managed to win. Marius and the surviving Populares took refuge in Praeneste, where they were subjected to a siege by the Optimates. The siege ended successfully, and after another battle near Rome, Sulla was finally named Dictator of Rome for an indefinite period. However, the civil war was far from over, as a general loyal to Marius and the Populares decided to keep the flame of resistance alive. In Hispania, where the natives were fierce defenders of freedom, his name, Quintus Sertorius.